Wow, that was wonderful.
I just observed the email from the company that I interviewed with, and they're like, "Yeah, no, thank you."
Oh,
That's humbling.
dang. Well, sorry to hear that, man.
Mm, I mean, interviews. Well, you don't interview that often, but when you think an interview goes really, really well, but they don't want you. You ever had that before?
Um, no, I mean I've had phone screenings where I don't feel like they go bad, but they don't really. It's a phone screening, so a lot of it is what your experience and what do you like and things like that to see if you're before they go on to big ones. And I've gotten rejections from those. I've had a bad interview where I'm like halfway through, I'm like, oh, I just failed it. I knew it. Because they had this very strong thing about their culture, and literally the story I was telling was not in line with that. So like shit. Um, but I've never otherwise. No, I mean, yeah, no. I don't know why it's done. Like I've had an easy time with interviewing and getting jobs. Uh,
What's your hourly your compensation package? Is it pretty much average, or do you ask for high end compensation?
no, it's pretty average. So I make 150 right now, and then I've got health and benefits. But honestly, I like
Yeah, I was submitted at 200,000.
yeah. I mean, I should probably be making more, but I just I feel like there's a certain part where the compensation doesn't matter and other things start to matter more. Like I value, um, I really, really value the like unlimited time off policies, or the company I'm with now calls them responsible time off, which I like that too. But um, well,
How
because
much time? How much time do you take off a year?
well, see, it's not that. Well, the thing is, there's it's an ease of mind thing. So there's two things for me. One is that I know that when I want to take off time, I'd never have to think about the bank, right? The bank of hours. It's not an accumulated money system. It's a recognition that we're human and that we sometimes just need to take things off, or that we're going to prioritize other things over work occasionally. So I know like people rail on it because it's the financial bit of it where it's, well, the business is doesn't have to pay you out at the end and blah blah blah, and you've earned that time, blah blah blah. And it's like, well, I'm salary, I don't really get paid by the hour. I could work, whatever. Like if I work three times as many hours, I still get the same amount of vacation earned. So it doesn't that whole idea of banking hours and stuff to me is just stupid. So, but it's basically the idea of not having to deal with the bank. It's just there. I can use it. It's the same reason why I really don't like contract work, because I hate writing down hours every day or writing down billable hours. It sucks. I just want to be, you know, simple. Like I go to work, I get done. I don't have to,
I mean,
fill out fucking paperwork or whatever.
it's kind of dumb anyway to be a software engineer and you get paid by the hour because you're just incentivized to be less productive for the entire duration of the project. You're incentivized to prolong the project as long as you can without getting fired.
Yeah, and
It's really a dumb system.
that's the billable hours system with any contract firm is that it's stupid. It should be fixed price bidding, and but the problem with fixed price bidding is that the people up front have to know they, what the deliverable is and define it really well. But if you say, hey, I'm going to deliver this in 6 months with this amount of money, and if it goes over and I haven't delivered it, I flip that bill. Like, I think that works better because then, it's a fixed cost for the company that's doing it, and you don't have to bill hours or whatever and deal with that whole rigmarole. You're just giving out money based on milestones or a weekly stipend or whatever.
Hey, gambler.
Again, so just whatever. So like, I just I hate the idea of billing for time, and I hate the idea of putting in hours for vacation. Even though the last place I did, even though we had a limited vacation, we still had to put our hours in, like into a system so that they could track it or whatever, because there were some legalities around it, I think, which the law keeps trying to fuck this up for me, is what it's doing. I hate that.
Mm.
I know they're trying to protect workers or whatever, but it's like I don't want it. If I could go work at like a salaried position anywhere rather than an hourly, it'd be great. So that's my that's my rant about it. Anyway, I forgot how we got onto that.
This thing is taking forever, man. I'm still editing or working on my second revision of the first chapter.
Yeah. So, like, what are you finding that is taking so long? Is it just spelling mistake? Not. I'm assuming it's not spelling mistakes, but is it just repetitive content? What?
The majority of it is just wording. A little bit of it is redundancy that can be removed. A little bit of it is inconsistencies with characters. And the first chapter is like, it's setting the stage for all the other chapters, in which each chapter is introducing an anti-pattern. So the first chapter is like setting the atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's so long. The first chapter is like, it's 46 pages.
Is there maybe a way to reorganize that?
Because of the editing I'm doing, it'll probably get chopped down to like maybe 38 pages. But I plan on doing like at least 2 more revisions after this of just the first chapter. So
have you so is there a way to break that up to rewrite it so that it's not this big monolith up front and then chapters?
yeah, I could have part 1 and part 2 of an introduction, but I've never heard of a introduction part 1, introduction part 2.
So you said this, okay, it's one anti-pattern. So the first chapter introduces all the anti-patterns, or is it just the first anti-pattern? And it's just the most like complex one. I sorry, I missed that. I didn't comprehend it or didn't take it in.
The first chapter introduces the first anti-pattern, ready, set, go.
Okay. Which is the big bang. Let's get started, everybody, and then we sit around for weeks.
Yes, but it also sets the premise for what's to come in regards to other like anti-patterns.
Gotcha. So here's another idea for you. Have you thought about, instead of going through and marking up the work, or just have you thought about just rewriting it straight out?
How's that going to save me time?
Well, I think because I think the idea is you're going to take the existing text and you got to go back and manipulate it and change it up and then make sure everything's continuous. If you could get a solid vision for what this is based on what you put together, maybe you could just go in and just stream right through and just do it. I wonder too if that tool I told you about, Novel Crafter, if that would help a lot.
So this probably isn't going to answer your question.
Mm-hmm.
There's 2 chapters that I dread. This first chapter and the other chapter, firefighting. Firefighting comes after the Supernova release chapter. And firefighting is also huge. Yeah, I'm not going to rewrite the chapter
No, I'm just yeah.
because
Yeah. I mean that makes sense.
it's introducing characters. They each have a stake. They each have their internal struggle. It's introducing the antagonist, and it's setting very clearly the motivations of the antagonist, where he means well. His name is Victor. Victor's the white guy. Everybody else
Yeah,
is
why do you got to give him
almost
the
black.
why do you got to give him the Eastern European white guy name? Jeez, come on,
Victor.
Victor.
Um, yeah, he's pretty much like Russian without me saying it in the book. That I envision Victor being like white dude with like streaked black hair, like really means well, very aggressive in his temperament, but his aggressivity or his aggression go 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 because he's the one that drives this ready set go chapter.
Yeah, he's a driver. Yeah,
um it's obviously out of ignorance, right, because of past experiences, and the lesson that he interpreted was that he should have moved faster so that he could demonstrate more to investors and to customers. But because he felt that things were prolonged and taking forever, he missed his shot with his own startup. So it's like, nope, not again. I'm not making this mistake again. So that's kind of his mentality,
and that's an
is
like.
faster results.
I actually don't think that's an Andy pattern. It depends on the context, though. Because in a startup, that's a good that's a good thing to have.
Well, he's
Like,
working in enterprise now, so he's not in a
yeah,
startup
yeah,
anymore.
yeah. If you're dealing with something where you got to release it, yeah. So that's the Andy pattern is actually applying, not following the context is king thing, which is said. So, but yeah, no, that's the thing about I think the promise of that novel crafter system, and it might be worth just trying it, is you can enter in these characters, and it does a good job, or tries to actually maintain um, their what's it called, like continuity, and make sure that they're set up, and make sure their prose makes sense based on their backstories and all that, or their description. One of the things it also can do is you can actually have target changes within the storyline. So you could say for this chapter, he actually has changed, and this is his fundamental change. Like he learned something, and now he's going to apply that, and it can take those kinds of things into account. So, but I don't know. It's a slog. You could always just pay someone to go through and do it. Like, this is what I want to say. Can you just make this right and hire a ghostwriter or an editor? Probably costs an arm and a leg, though. But man, that looks good though on paper. I tell you that. Actually, seeing something you create on paper. I don't have that.
I feel like a professor. All this red ink that I'm marking up for a student. I'm trying to find a paragraph that I could read. Okay, maybe this one. I'll try to read this, but it's still marked up, so it might be butchered as I try to read it. The room was sterile and overlit. Around the table sat the core leadership team, reviewing the project's ambitious roadmap. Kwaku had waited patiently, taking notes, observing. When it was his turn, he spoke plainly, without the theatrics, and without ego. Kwaku hesitated, fingers lightly tapping against the polished table, eyes lingering on the diagrams no one else had bothered to review. When he finally spoke, his voice held a cautious edge rather than conviction. Victor, before we spin up more teams, the login UI and the authentication service, they don't have a defined contract yet. If Team Bravo starts coding that UI now, they'll be guessing at the API. We'll spend weeks debugging mismatches down the line. Let's lock that down first, then scale. Victor barely looked up, tapping dismissively at a spreadsheet projection on his laptop. We have a team ready and waiting, he replied, scribbling notes hurriedly. Planning is a luxury we can't afford right now. Dependencies can be addressed as we build. We'll adapt as we go. That's agile, right? Victor forced a tight smile, already turning back to his screen. Agile? Sure. Fast is what matters. A flash from the Innovate Fin company that he co-founded struggled with the speed to market. He observed endless analysis paralysis from his technical co-founder, while the market shifted beneath them. Victor tightened his jaw. Not again. Not on my watch. We show results fast or we're obsolete. We have a top-tier team, he said out loud, brushing aside Kweku's hesitation. Kweku paused, a slight crease forming between his brows. He opened his mouth, then closed it again. Beside him, Melvin shifted uncomfortably, clearly wanting to say something, but settling instead for a quiet nod toward Kweku's acknowledgement. Toward Kweku as an acknowledgement, but no support. Kweku had referenced David's earlier concerns about service conflicts and unstable environments. In response, he had outlined a phased plan for addressing it. However, the room was already moving on. So, and even reading that, and that was marked up in red, I still saw like 3 opportunities to add like a comma or a junction word like "and," but
So that felt like a pretty well-defined scene. How many pages was that? Like 1?
No, that was 2 paragraphs. That was half a page.
It was half a page. Wow. But it was a scene. It was definitely a scene.
Yeah.
With multiple beats in it. Have you thought about just instead of not necessarily breaking up your chapters, but maybe making them a lot of small chapters in sections, or splitting them up by scene? Like one thing I've seen is that you'll have distinct markers that separate scenes with these, like they'll usually use a centered triple star, and then focusing on scene by scene type stuff.
Hold up for 1 second. Do you need to have details like API and service contract to tell the story? Doesn't high altitude sound familiar?
High altitude.
Does that username sound familiar from our sessions?
I don't know. Maybe. I bet his name's Victor.
Russian.
Yeah.
No. Do you need to have details like API and service contract to tell the story? I mean, maybe not, but there has to be context about struggle, and there needs to be an example. Oh, okay. You say he's probably commented on our session months ago.
I think I don't know that it would make sense without it. You could try taking it out and see what happens, but it feels like that Quaker's got to have a reason to speak up about something that he wants to slow the timeline down, right?
Yeah. And what was your question or statement before I read off his comment?
I'm just so what I'm just trying to think about is different ways you could break this up to make it smaller increments and chunks rather than this big monolithic. It's like we've talked about how writing a book is similar to writing software, and what you've got right now is a big ass monolith for your first chapter.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to think of like, well, how could you break that up into small units that you can check that unit, write that unit, mark it off, be done with it, and say this is tested and good.
Just take into consideration, and I know I'm beating a dead horse. I'm still trying to structure each chapter as an answer pattern. To be fair, the first chapter, Ready Set Go, it's an anti-pattern, but it's subtly introducing context for the further anti-patterns um, that are separate chapters, but it's subtly introducing the list of other anti-patterns. Not
Yeah,
all of them, but some of them.
that makes sense. I mean, all I'm doing is saying is like maybe what you do is you subdivide the chapter into smaller units and then work those units independently, then come back and compose them into a chapter like you'd do in code. So you could literally write a test for each scene. Like if you could get down to the scene level, you could treat this like a software project and write this out as a series of tests. Like what does this chapter need or scene rather need to do? And then say have your assertions of what you need it to do and then go read it and verify that yep it does that, yep it does that, yep it does that, mark them off.
That's
You
kind of
get to
what I was.
green, then you
That's
do
kind
the
of
next scene. Yeah.
that's kind of what I was doing with ChatGPT. I'll have Gemini generate the content, and then I'll have ChatGPT perform the role of a novel editor, and it would have this huge checklist of things that could be improved. And then I would have Gemini. I would feed Gemini each improvement item, and then Gemini would, rewrite a paragraph or whatever, and I would go down the list, and then after all the check items Gemini responded to, I would then feed the chapter back to ChatGPT, and then ChatGPT was like, all the proposed feedback items have been met. It's kind of similar, no?
Yeah. So how big of info are you feeding ChatGPT at a time though?
Well, I feed it the entire. Well, one is I'll feed it the entire novel to ask for general feedback about inconsistencies between the characters, series of events, etc. But then um, I usually will feed it an individual section or paragraph when telling it to rewrite something.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying I think if you could develop the rules or the constraints on it and put those into a very defined list and then feed it a scene at a time at that scene level or even at a beat level, that'd probably be a much better way of handling it. I mean, it would just be more effective because ChatGPT's context window isn't that big. So it can't think about the entire content of the chapter and then zero in on this one and say, okay, that these are the things I need to do. If you can distill what the chapter needs into a set of rules, and then give it the thing, it can then probably evaluate it better. But you have to define those concise rules. That's where, like I said, a tool like Novel Crafter would help us because it actually does that for you.
Mm, okay.
But
High altitude says, yeah, but you don't have to be so concrete. Doesn't really work unless you teach the reader all the details about the concrete thing first. So, point taken. High altitude. The thought process is the audience is are managers of tech projects. To be fair, the majority of managers on tech projects aren't technical, at least within software projects. Um, so I can see your point there. The primary audience would be managers. The secondary audience would be engineers. Of course, the engineers would know or should know some of these details that I'm talking about when it comes to service contracts, blah blah blah. But yeah, I think your point is fair. And then he says the conflict is about someone wanting to move quickly, even over the objections that things aren't ready. Yep. And then he says it's not obvious to me that the exact details of what isn't ready are very important to define this conflict.
so is the critique there that how do you know that Victor's wrong and Kweku's right in this situation because the it's not clear that either of them is right.
I think, with emphasis on I think, the high altitude is saying your book is about anti-patterns. It is a novel, but do you really have to be so detailed about implementation details for authentication and login? Um, can you disclose a conflict between two characters without being so detailed about the implementation detail of some software component? I think that's what he's attempting to express to me. I don't know how to. I'm not sure how to do that without having a concrete example of what two characters may be arguing over.
Yeah, so,
Like
it
how do
seems like
you?
he just responded there. It looks like it's more about the jargon. And I think that the thing is within the tech space that jargon makes total sense. I don't know. I mean, it makes total sense that it would be like, I understand the problem that he would be going through is that he's concerned that if we have the front end developers start working and the back end isn't ready, then what happens is that, and we haven't defined a contract between the two up front, that the front end won't be able or is going to just code static crap, and then we're going to have to try to mismatch. I don't know that the like login pages are that big because those are pretty small pages and there's not a lot of complexity to them. And so like me personally, I think it'd be just fine for the front end team to build out the pages based on designs or whatever that we have without knowing any sort of contract, because you kind of derive the contract from the actual like interactions in the UI. In fact, I'd be more inclined to have front end driven development in general rather than back end driven like development, or even thinking that they have to have some sort of contract that's agreed to on both sides. I feel like the front end could create the contract and the back end just fulfills it at that point. So I don't know that the like universally that people would sympathize with Kweku's position. I think I would sympathize more with Victor in this case based on that example, but I don't know. But I don't think the jargon is a problem, because your audience is not for people who don't know tech, right? If you want it to be for people who don't know tech, you could say that they need to create a GUI interface in Visual Basic to track the killer's IP, and then that's a deep cut, though. You ever see that?
Well, so I would agree with you that the UI shouldn't have as many conflicts if you're literally just doing presentation or coding presentation. But the client is also responsible for like actually connecting that presentation to some backend logic.
Yeah, that part is really easy.
So I mean, that's a separate task when you break down that feature. Yeah.
Yeah. We do that all the time where I'm at, though. It's because we have separate back end, front end teams, which I really do. Well, we don't really have separate back end, front end teams, but like we have a group of developers who are front end, and we have a group of developers who are back end. And I'm one of the few full stack ones, which makes my life difficult because everything's optimized for the other two and nothing's optimized for me. So it sucks, but I mean, my preference would be for if the front end can begin to work based on designs and start to fill those out, and the back end needs to work it, is that they define the contract based on what the app actually needs, and then the back end just fulfills that contract. But it's I don't know, sometimes people don't agree with me.
I agree with you.
I actually don't like the idea of doing I like doing the back end. I could see doing the back end up to some like service layer or app layer behind it, where it's defining, the features and the services that are available broadly. But then when you actually create the APIs, into that for the front end to use, I hate when those are written first, because you just end up either exposing too much, over pulling crap that people don't need. There's just a billion different ways it can go wrong. So anyways.
Yeah, so I'm halfway through the second revision of the first chapter. Yesterday, I didn't even have a chance. I probably did. You know what competes with me editing this? Freaking chess.com. I spend easy 3 hours a day playing chess every day on my phone.
You're a gamer, geez. You game more than I do.
Man, I'm competitive.
There's a cool idea I came across yesterday that would be a fun project to simulate, or to do as like a kata or whatever you call it. So there's this company, what they do is they set up a system where bars or places that serve whatever can have a stock market on their drinks. And so when people are continuously buying something, like let's say you have 5 beers, and the first beer people are buying that one the most. What'll happen is that over time, that price of that beer will go up, and the other price on the other beers will start going down. And then people will start to transition to the other beers, which will make their prices go up and then drive the other ones down. And then they have this idea of a crash where all of them will go to their minimum sell price all at once. And then it'll trigger like a buying frenzy, essentially. But they game it so that, like as an idea of it's an event, so people can get, follow the ticker and get prices for beer at lower prices or whatever based on the ticker and all that. It's just a neat concept. I think would be kind of fun to experience, but maybe it's lame. I don't know. I heard it's really fun.
Can someone just write a stock exchange and accomplish the same thing?
Well, yeah, it's basically a stock exchange, but there's some other things like being able to drive the because you have a fixed variable set in the background. Like stocks could go to infinity or they could go to zero, right? But you're not doing that with goods. Things get shut off too. I guess that would be going to zero. But yeah, there's also like the actual crashes are timed and controlled by the bar. So there's stuff like that. I don't know how you would simulate it. There's also a component of connecting to POS systems to actually get the feed of how much is being sold at any given time. So there's a lot of components to it. It's just an interesting problem. Tom Swift under Milkwood.
You know, I had him on my channel, Pragmatic Dave.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah. My name is Scott. All I do is drop bombs, run up in your spot, say hello to your moms. How's your book?
Terrible. I haven't really even started on it.
Did you officially pull the plug on it, or is it still on the radar?
Yeah, it's that specific one is pulled. I don't know. Like when you went into this, did you have I feel like you had some sort of like you knew what you wanted to do, you got into it, and you just at least executed the first chapter.
I executed the whole book, but now I wrote the whole book.
Yeah.
The whole book is the first version is written. It's the edits that, and when I was watching, I didn't mean to cut you off, but when I was watching YouTube videos, they all pretty much said writing the book is easy. It's the editing that
Yeah,
is like a freaking ultra marathon.
your first draft's gonna suck and all that. Yeah. But see, I just there's no like thing in me that wants to do it. So every time you sit down, it's like I mean, like I want to do it in principle, like I maybe romanticize it, but I don't like have some sort of desire or inner need or want or some sort of like I need to do this. I need to write this.
Well,
Like
so yeah, the difference is for my part, I'm trying to teach, aka explore to a reader alternative methods because they seem to be stuck in there's only one way to accomplish an objective. And so I'm trying to share insight on maybe an alternative way of doing the same thing that may like reduce the risk of failure with emphasis on may.
yeah, so there's
And so
some
that's my motivation.
yeah, there's an internal driver of this needs people need to based on your experience, people need to hear this or see this and even if none of them like it, whatever, they need to because it's something that I feel strongly about. I don't feel strongly about any of it. And so it's just like I don't know if it was doomed to failure to begin with, but I obviously learned some things along the way. Uh, but I just need that inner desire to do it. An example of this is like so last when I started this diet that I'm on, last month, um, it was like there was a key moment where it just like it became not a oh I want to do that, it became I have to do that, and then I did it. I started doing it. But I don't have this with that. It's like I don't have this. I have to do this mentality. I'm trying to get there with the idea that you know what AI might replace us in 5 years. And it might not be it replaces all engineers. Blah blah blah. It might be the market is so saturated with developers because we don't need them as much anymore, or stuff like that, or the entire job changes and all.
Dude, like given that Veil 3, that's going to remove, I mean, that's going to disrupt like commercials. You don't need real people.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
Especially for like
in five
influencers and
years,
stuff. Yeah.
it's over. It's a wrap. I was trying to tell this swimsuit model. So we have Miami swimsuit. I don't know, some Miami swimsuit whatever event going on this
Yep.
weekend. So you got a whole bunch of women that are like getting suited and booted, um, and lining up to all these venues to basically get discovered by like agents. And I pulled up on one. And I ended up chopping it up with her, and I was like, man, like this industry is not going to need you. Like unless you're like maybe in a movie, like there's no use for you as a model. Like when AI can literally generate a model, like Veil 3 already just showed it. Veil 3 is the tip of the iceberg. It can
Yeah, it
basically,
just gets getting better and
I
better.
told her explicitly, it takes billions, if not trillions, of people that are archived on the internet for the past 30 years. And it's able to take like 5 people and merge their features into someone that doesn't exist, but still looks real. And have him or her do things. In 5 years, it's a wrap, man. I'm going to be unemployed as an engineer. You are too. Pretty hoes will as well. Everybody's going to be unemployed. So it's like,
Well, not everybody plumber. The thing is that
well, yeah. I
it's going to
mean,
be knowledge work, or intelligence work, and there won't be a total unemployment, but it'll be constrained to people who are
hands-on infrastructure work is preserved. Like you
yeah,
said, plumber, electrician. But
septic people who work. I mean, places where robotics haven't come in, that's all safe for now.
The
Uh,
only thing I could think of that's
yeah,
going to be booming is security. Either you write tools to hack this latest AI ecosystem and you sell it to security companies. I'm not going to recommend
yeah,
selling it to Black Hat, but I think there's just going to be a surge of security opportunities, security work.
yeah,
So
yeah. Actually, I mean, if you think about it, manufacturing work is probably about and services trades are probably about the only thing that's really safe. Any sort of knowledge work, but I've actually thought about. I wonder, like, and I don't know why this doesn't exist yet. Maybe it does, and I just haven't Googled it right yet. What I want to do is have a Slack interface, like an identical interface to Slack. I don't know if you've used Slack much,
I don't
but
know. Do people still use Slack? I thought
yeah,
everybody's using MS Teams now.
no, we're using Slack. I think a lot of startups use Slack.
Okay.
MS Teams, I think, is more of an enterprise thing, possibly, or if they're in the Microsoft ecosystem. Um, but to just and literally all you do is you invite, uh, you create agents that flow into it, and they all are individually named, and within that as things you can direct message, and they all have conversations with each other in Slack channels, and it's just like one big simulated type thing that they do. And you can just go into anyone's all of their inner DMs with each other and just look at stuff and analyze it and contribute. I don't know. It's weird,
I don't think that's a good idea.
but but anyways, but yeah, I've tried to bring this up even with my wife, and it's
Here,
like,
no, here's you know, an interesting book.
yeah,
It,
sure,
it sounds really creepy, but it sounds like an interesting book. Fiction. Hear me out. The premise is the following, and the topic is creepy. Okay, it
okay,
is. So, law enforcement, they're tracking a pedophile that's downloading a lot of pedophile content, right?
okay,
Okay, and they they're putting in the work, and they're realizing that there is a ring of pedophiles, and these pedophiles are exchanging content amongst each other. Okay,
okay.
do you know what this is leading up to based on the discussion that we were having before this?
Um, mm, sort of, but go ahead.
They find out that these pedophiles aren't real people. Someone wrote a whole bunch of bots basically to pull resources from law enforcement, and the whole thing's made up. The bots are surveying the internet and doing things with images for minors, but there's no actual end user. There's no human being. It's just a program. They were chasing a ghost. Is that still prosecutable if no one is looking at the content? It's just a program that crawls the web, pulls it, and impersonates end users, but they're all bots.
Yeah, I don't know how that would play out.
There's no crime. It's
Yeah.
just a waste of law enforcement resources,
Well,
which
that could be impeding
which
justice or whatever,
Congress
but
could, create a new law saying, hey, you can't purposely uh, distract law enforcement by having them chase a crime that doesn't exist purposely.
yeah, I mean, that's an interesting premise. I don't,
Yeah, go write it.
no, I don't think I
No,
want to
write the
write
book,
that.
not the program.
No, I don't think I want to write the book, but I don't, I'm trying to understand, like, I understand the idea of pulling from those resources. I don't know that there's not a chain of responsibility there where, you know, that you can't then track who's created the bot because it's got to run on infrastructure somewhere. It's either infrastructure that is uh, but I guess the question is, can you download something and is it, because really the question is if you're responsible for downloading it and obtaining it, but you never actually look at
It
it,
could be a
is it
virus
a law?
that someone has no clue that they even when they put in their USB drive or when they click the link on an email, they didn't know that that link was going to be some pedophile
Well,
bots.
yeah, but then then you could track it back to the email, which would track it back to whoever started the email thread. So there's a chain of finding out who started it, because it's a causality chain, and you just have to keep following it till you reach the end.
Okay, so they could track it to a library,
Yeah,
a library computer, and then
which has usually have like security
well,
cameras or whatever.
they have cameras, but then I mean, you could also run a VM, or you can have mobile Wi-Fi. You can have a burner phone. Like there's a lot of things that you could do. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, no, I mean there is to try to be a ghost, but it's like I guess it depends on how much resources were consumed and how much they would want to spend trying to track it down to the original person. But then again, what's the conflict, and where's the uh where's the drama or the comedy?
Well, the victim is law enforcement, and the victim are um, children.
Yeah,
You want to know
yeah,
why? Because those resources were deterred from serving other people that were actual victims. Right?
yeah,
Things are
yeah.
still
No, I
resources.
understand that there'd be victims in it. I just don't understand. The question is would they, once they figure this out, continue to go down that path or not? Um, I just don't know. I don't know what law enforcement would do in that scenario. But I don't know where the drama is for it, or like I said, the drama or the conflict.
Oh, for the book,
Yeah,
the conflict is
it's a cool
there.
premise, but yeah,
The conflict is they traced it to a politician's residence. So now they're planning to do this big bust, but they realize that the there's a whole network. Some are big names, or maybe all of them are big names, right? But they realize that it's really just an attack on reputable people, and it's a bot. And so these people, their lives are getting destroyed because there hasn't been enough forensics done to realize that these are just bots and not the actual high ranking people that just got raided. I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah. No, I mean, I think you
But
could
then how do you prove
theoretically.
that? You got to have some banging lawyers, but those lawyers would then have to hire some banging forensic or IT forensic folks. I can see it being with the right ingredients. I can see it being a Netflix suspense movie.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yo, I'm gonna do a line of coke and I'm gonna write the script.
there you go. Bestseller, Scott Nimrod.
What would the title be?
Uh,
Yeah, I don't know either. And the title probably shouldn't allude to it being bots.
yeah, you'd have to be very clever about it. Um, I don't know. Probably something abstract. I can't think of anything clever at the moment for it. It would, I mean, you said ring originally, so I feel like ring would make sense to be in there. Um, but
I feel like the word would be what part of the title would have the word chasing.
yeah, or you could think of it if you do the bot route, where it's like a thing, you could have like a botnet type thing with it. But yeah, I don't know.
Tracking who? That would be my first title until I could come up with something better.
Yeah. There you go. Write it.
I'm gonna have ChatGPT write it.
Use
Really
use
Gemini, bro.
Use Novel Crafter and then pick which one you want.
Have you tried it yet?
What, Novel Crafter?
Yeah.
No, but
You should sponsor them, man. You brought it up like twice already.
well, I've gone into the tool and I've filled out stuff. Yeah, I just haven't used the AI tool yet to generate a beat because I am lame. But actually, one cool thing I did learn about that is have you looked at OpenRouter before?
Negative.
So OpenRouter allows you to, with one API interface, access every model that you want to access, any model, pretty much. So it'll go to. Oh, go ahead.
Doesn't Script do this? What's that thing called? The IDE with the AI integrated into it.
Cursor.
Doesn't Cursor do the same thing?
Well, yeah, Cursor does the same kind of thing, but it's not all of them. So OpenRouter will even do ones that'll escape the content limitations of the main ones. It runs off of. It'll have. You can use the ones off of the happy face or whatever it is, the hugging face rather. So it's like, I don't know how many total models they have, but if you were building a tool and you wanted to be able to let them pick the model, like it could be you could do something like this. But man, dude, there's tons of them. I don't know how many total models there are. There are 441 models you can post to. So
I wanted to take a trip. I'm changing the topic now. Universal Studios, they opened up I guess Universal Studios is a park.
Yeah, we'll be going there next year.
They opened up a new park. I want to go, but I don't want to go by myself because then I'm going to look like a predator.
We're going next year with our whole big family unit again.
That's cool. Must be nice. I wish I had a large family that did things.
Yeah, maybe you could hire someone off of
Fiverr,
Craigslist or something. I don't know. Fiverr, Facebook Marketplace. Looking for preferably female who just wants to hang out and go to Universal for a day. We'll pay entrance fee. I bet you'd get someone.
Yeah. I get another guy. Oh yeah.
Guy looking for guy to go to game park.
No. Look, I'm sorry, but I still think it's kind of funny. I'm gonna roast it. Like looking for a little boy to go to the amusement park.
Yeah.
In my mid 40s, 6'7", 240 pounds. Preferably a kid between the ages of 5 and 12. Like that's so dirty.
We'll pay.
I just want someone to go to the amusement park with. I don't understand what the crime is.
We'll give.
What do you think?
We'll feed him churros, big churros. No.
I mean, that's not a. I know this is cringy, but like,
cops would be.
If you place an ad, and you're going to a public amusement park, how do you think they would even investigate that? I mean, you'll be investigated for they'll track your web history and they'll see what you've been doing on the internet for the past like probably 24 months. That's interesting. If someone literally has a boss to do that.
Yeah, there's a lot of I don't think that there'd be many people that would do that. But never know,
because they know there's no crime committed, and if they're trying to make a living as a content creator, they surely would do that, especially if they're already established and they have a clean record and they're literally doing it and documenting it for content purposes.
Yeah. By the way, there are a lot of people that go to those amusement parks without family or anything. There's a lot of adult like theme park goers and influencers who do it. They'll just go there and they record content and all that kind of stuff. Literally, I think if you went by yourself, I wouldn't
meet anybody.
Well, yeah, but if you just wanted to ride the rides and see the stuff, like everyone would just think you're a dad or someone who just is by themselves because their family didn't want to go on the ride, is what it would be. Nobody would care. I don't want to let that stop you. But if you want companionship on it, then yeah, I'd be.
Like there's been a couple times where I went to the dog park with no dog, and I just watch other people's dogs. You find
Okay.
that weird?
No, no. As long as you're not going up and being like,
I'm like, hey, you want a treat?
yeah, ooh, who's the good girl? Yeah, maybe you could rent a dog. You just get a rent a dog service and go to the
I
shelter
actually
and check
would.
one
I
out
mean,
for a
that's
while,
how you
like a
pick up
library.
women. That's how you pick up women, because they're attracted to accessories, right? So you rent a dog on a Saturday morning, take it to the dog beach, and then you purposely let your dog free so it can hop onto a group of girls. No, I'm sorry, and then you strike up the conversation. Blah blah. That's what I did
Yeah,
with Cookie.
it's a, it's a. They look for cues
That's
of
how I met my baby mother. So
well, yeah,
I
there
used
you
a
go.
dog as a prop.
Yeah, they look for uh, resource allocation or acquisition cues, right? So are you able to? Are you someone who can acquire resources and take care of things or not? Which is what they're looking for. So a dog, I suppose, would be, yeah, they've got the at least some financial means to support something, and they take care of something. So
A dog doesn't cost money. Just you can live in the projects and be broke and still have a dog. It
yeah,
doesn't mean that you're getting its teeth cleaned every 6 months and that you're having them vaccinated and you're spending. Dogs are expensive. Well, you would know.
yeah, oh yeah.
Like, I, my insurance for my dog was I was paying.
You had insurance for your dog? Jesus.
Yeah, I had. Well, they don't call
Well,
it.
he had cancer or something though, didn't he?
No,
Or some sort of like
she had a heat
illness.
stroke because of
Yeah,
me.
that's what it was. Yeah.
No, there's they don't call it insurance, but you basically have like monthly insurance that you could pay. I think I was paying like $50 a month because that stuff gets expensive. If you really want to take care of your dog, and especially when it's a purebred and they're prone to purebreds because they're not. I, mean,
Yeah.
I almost said a joke, and I have to be careful. I almost said something that was anti-Semitic about when you keep it within the.
Keep it
Forget
in the family. Yeah.
it.
Use Appalachian instead. No.
Appellation.
Yeah.
I was going to say, yeah, especially with purebreds, and because they don't have that much mixing, um, like other cultures, that they may be prone to disease or genetic issues in life. So yeah,
Yeah, our first French bulldog was, well, technically our second. Our first one, I'm pretty sure, died of heat stroke, which was our fault, my fault. It was tragic.
and how long did that? How long did you have to deal with the consequences of guilt before you were able to like move on over time?
I mean,
Couple months.
no, it was a while. I mean, obviously the main. I don't think we got over the main kind of pain for, yeah, a few months. Like it was come home from work and just sit and do nothing because it was like
Yeah.
whatever. And then we eventually went out and got new dogs, but yeah, no, it's still something I think about every.
And what do you do? Do you just like how do you dispose of a dog that you accidentally like because of negligence killed? I mean, you don't report it, but how you dispose of it
Well, I don't think it was
without driving
negligent.
to a well, how did it get a heat stroke?
Well, it was well, I don't think it was negligence in terms of like I didn't neglect the dog and it got whatever it was. I thought it was fine in this environment and it wasn't, and I didn't know that because I had to go to work. Um, so we had it in a porch, so it was an enclosed porch, and I had a fan running, and I had water, and I thought, oh, that's fine, but I didn't realize it was going to get like a sauna in there. I just didn't even dawn on me that it would be extremely hot in there. And so it was like, gosh, I don't even want to talk about it anymore. It
Yeah,
was,
no worries.
but anyways, no, I mean, we brought it to the vet and they cremated him and we buried him and stuff. So it was,
And they didn't want an incident report.
no, they were kind of like, well, we talked about, well, maybe it wasn't heat. Maybe we should get an autopsy or something. And they're like, we could do that, but they were really, the veterinarian was, I think, more, I think they were just more concerned with like big animals and stuff, and they didn't really care about pets that much. So I think the place in town here where I go, maybe they would, but I mean, you could just bury a dog too. I could just bury a dog if I lost a dog. It's you know I've got land, so we have
They'll
a.
never see you digging a grave.
Well, our previous owner warned us because they had a dog graveyard where they had Great Danes, and so they're like, there are Great Danes buried here. So if you go here, you and dig, you might find giant dog bones. um, but I mean, we've buried a couple of gerbils and stuff out there. I don't remember, like maybe a bird that my daughter found that was dead that she wanted to have buried, maybe, but.
That's interesting that you bury gerbils. I would have just put it in the garbage bag and threw it away.
Yeah, I don't know. It was a pet, so kind of had to. But yeah, I mean, it took a while to get over that. And then we got our second one, and that one, which is what I was trying to get to, was that second one did have must have had a genetic defect with their back because he had no cartilage between a couple of his vertebrae, so he had back problems most of his life. And then eventually, in an old age, he ended up losing just entirely his back, so he would just drag his feet and walk with his paws on the ground, and it was sad sight to see. And now we have another French bulldog, but he seems fine so far, so we'll see. But
Sounds like you always had animals in your life.
yeah, pretty much since my parents bought our first dog, and then I went to college and stuff, and then after that we got dogs right away, and we've had dogs, or we have a cat too, and some stupid reason we have two turtles that my wife and kids picked up at different places. I don't take care of those turtles though. I don't even touch. I don't like them. So
They're pretty boring, aren't they?
they do. They like sometimes they do some interesting things.
Do you feed a fish or just canned food?
It's like there's these little mealworms and stuff you throw in there, and they eat those. Yeah, a couple times they've escaped and they've landed, like we have them up on like a shelf or like a buffet thing, and they jumped down and they fell all the way to the ground. They're just fine though, but
Their shell didn't
escaped.
crack.
No, they've escaped a few times from their enclosure, their aquarium or whatever. But I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of. I like the idea of turtles. I don't like actual turtles.
I had a turtle before.
Yeah.
I mean, like what I would like to do, but I just don't want to maintain it, is have like a really large, possibly in wall built fish tank, wall to wall, and have different ecosystems, maybe 2 to 3. One is like desert, the other one is Amazon, the other one is like wilderness. Throw a turtle in there, throw some fish in there, and then throw like a small little reptile in there, and then maybe throw some insects in there, but it can't be roaches, man. What insect is a safe insect that I won't freak out if they get loose?
Certain kinds of spiders, like well, you'd probably freak out maybe, but a tarantula
It can't be a
is pretty
tarantula.
safe. I don't know what other than tarantulas, what kind of
Probably crickets.
people. Yeah, crickets, but they jump high though. Yeah, crickets are good for food. Yeah.
Oh, well, I guess the reptile would probably eat that.
Oh, a millipede. Millipedes are really, really nice insects. Not centipedes. Those are bad. Millipedes, though.
What's the difference? One has 1,000 legs, the other one has 100.
No, so millipedes they don't have the stingers. They're not as gross looking. We had one in our science class in like
Oh yeah, I'll get a scorpion. I know that's not an
yeah,
insect. Ooh, a
scorpion.
praying mantis. I'll get a praying mantis.
Yeah, no, look at a millipede, man. They look nothing like a centipede. Well, yeah, not the giant ones anyways, or the small ones do.
I'll get a praying mantis.
They
Some
look like a worm with a lot of legs.
praying mantis. Some minnows. I forget. Oh, and a small reptile.
There you go.
You sent something in the chat.
No, I didn't send anything.
I had for the longest I had a crayfish and piranhas cohabitating.
Oh, really?
And no, actually, yeah. And then I guess the piranhas finally like got hungry after like a couple weeks.
Oh, I didn't know you had fish at one point.
Oh yeah, I had some red belly piranhas. I had a black piranha. I had fed piranhas a tadpole before.
We put minnows a few times in the turtle tank. That's kind of interesting to watch because they'll go and attack. One of them was a champ, man. He lasted like 4 days or something like that. Didn't get eaten, and then we showed up. He was gone one day. But
I used to buy $5 goldfish. So the goldfish would be like this big,
mm-hmm.
and I had like 5 piranhas, and I would throw the huge goldfish in the tank, and each piranha is like a sixth of the size of the goldfish, right? Well, maybe not a sixth, but maybe a quarter of the size of the goldfish. And yeah, those things, it was brutal.
They would just chew them up.
I mean, they eat the fact that they eat you alive, and they're like wild African dogs. They literally eat you alive.
Yeah,
They
if you
don't
want to
suffocate you and then
take a
eat you.
slice
No,
every
they
once in a
just
while.
literally eat you alive.
Yeah.
So,
Gross. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the fish.
I just don't want to maintain things. That's all. I don't want to have to keep going to the pet store to buy more and more crickets. Because I'll forget. I mean, I could set it along. I don't want to maintain anything. I guess
Let's
it's
get a
like
snake then. Snakes, like, don't you just feed them once like a quarter or something
I'm
like
scared to
that?
death of mice and rats. I worked at a pet store. I used to have the people grab their own rat because I couldn't. Like they'll go to the store to get a rat for their snake, and I couldn't grab a rat for them. I couldn't do it. I
Not
couldn't.
even gloves or anything?
I'm terrified of roaches and rats. I can't do it.
Hmm.
I can't do it.
Yeah, I suppose.
I freak out. I can't do it.
Yeah, I guess we all have our phobias.
I
Yeah.
have pest control come here once a month to spray because I'm terrified of roaches. I can't, and I mean Florida. I mean you just have to have maintenance, but I'm scared to death of roaches and rats and mice.
Roaches, rashes.
I'm like an elephant when it comes to a mouse. I freak out. So
Yeah. Yeah, you sound like my wife. She's got the same exact set of things she doesn't like. She sees a mouse and she just immediately just screams.
yeah, that's the same sound I make. I'm like,
I mean, if they're jumping at you, maybe then I'd freak out. But it's like, they'll startle me, but I don't, if I see one, I'm like, oh, okay. They're like a chipmunk. I don't freak out about chipmunks, and they're literally the same.
Chipmunks are cute because they don't have tails.
Yeah. I don't think, I don't know why, Minnesota, I don't know, do we not have roaches? Because I don't know that I've ever seen a roach.
You guys probably have German roaches.
I don't know. We have, carpenter ants would be probably the most destructive thing that we have in where I am living. We have mice, but that's why we have a cat. Although he doesn't do a great job of killing all of them. So, rabbits and
I bet you Gambler, they probably have German roaches in Switzerland.
Do you get June bugs in Florida?
No, I haven't seen. I see snakes. Like, I guess they're
Yeah.
gardener snakes.
Well, we have, but June bugs. You know what I'm talking about with June bugs?
I thought I confused June. You said Dune or June?
June bugs.
What's a what's a June bug?
So I don't know what they
I heard of
actually
June
are, but
bugs.
so in Minnesota in June, every June for like, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks, there are these, uh, they'd probably be very similar to like a beetles that just come out everywhere. And they fly around at night and stuff, and then they just go away. And
Oh,
you
you
don't
mean
see them
Canadian
again for another
soldiers?
year. Is that is that a name?
Canadian soldiers?
Or were you making a joke?
No, I'm just curious. There are alias for starts with a
No,
C.
no. That I know what you're talking about now. Those ones aren't, don't they? Aren't they over in Ohio? They're like the
They they
mayflies. Yeah,
they
mayflies.
they come like I think like every 7 years or something like that, and they cover houses,
Everything.
everything.
Yeah. So a June beetle. It is a beetle apparently.
Tampa has love bugs. They pretty much male and female are attached, and they just fly and land everywhere on windshields, on people. I've only seen that in Tampa.
Yeah. So June bugs. Apparently they just come out this time of year and then they go away. But yeah, that's about the only weird kind of bug thing we have is these June bugs.
I'm trying to do muscle ups. I'm sore. I want to unlock a muscle up in 4 weeks. Have you
Well,
ever done one before?
I don't think so. Is that where you go to where you get to the top and then you do a push?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't think I've ever done that.
You don't do calisthenics at all, do you?
I
Or you
well,
don't really have an environment that's conducive to it. You can't just go to a park and just start working out on the bars.
oh, so where how are you defining calisthenics? Is it just like
You're
body weight
you're
exercise?
using your body weight.
Yeah, no, I'm doing that. Actually, I started doing that this week again. So there's this book called "You Are Your Own Gym,"
Okay.
and there's like a program in the back that I'm following, but it's all body weight exercises. And so I've done that before. Like I did it maybe like 10 years ago. I would do it for like, maybe did it for months and months
I mean,
and
are you
was
doing it
consistent.
with like bars, or you're just doing push-ups and like? Do you have any equipment that you're using?
So I'll use, so there are ones that require some equipment, but they're all stuff that you can readily get. So the main one that I would need equipment for right now is a let me up, which is you lay on your back. And then if you had like a table, you could do it. I use a bar between two chairs, and then you just do essentially a row, a wide grip row up. And so you're picking your body off the ground and then back down. I suck at those. I'm not good at the pull exercises, um, but yeah, otherwise it's so like Monday was, or Monday it was push-ups, the let me ins, which are a row. You use a door and use the door handle, and you
I'll
do
be
this
back.
kind of like narrow grip row. Oh yeah.
Hold on for 1 second. Oh. If you're doing it,
Are
I
those for
honestly
the
believe
deep?
that you shouldn't do push-ups without having some form of these.
Is that for the deep ones?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
So
to me, like just doing a push-up. I feel like I'm not doing anything.
well, that's because
These,
you're super fit, relatively super fit compared to like me. Like I'm doing this program, it starts you out pretty low, but I'm doing push-ins on an incline right now because I just need to build up the muscle, which is what the program calls for anyways. But it's so like you do push-ups, these let me ins, which are rows on these using a door handle. seated squats. So you do your hands behind your back, you squat down, and then you go back up, and then the let me ups, which are the so a wide grip row on your back where you pull up.
Have you done planks?
I mean, that's in the book, but there's nothing in the. I don't know that does show up in the program for a while. The actual book has a bunch of different possible body weight exercises you can do.
Yeah.
And then he's got his programs in the back that he like, here's your basic program, your next level, whatever. So you go from like he toggles difficulty by using for push-ups. Let's just focus on that. It's all based on for the most part based on the angle of your grip and then the incline that you're on. So an easy push-up, the easiest push-up you could do would be slightly elevated forward on a wall and just going in and out.
Mm-hmm.
Technically, it's a push-up, and you can get a slight workout out of that, and you can build up, and then you slowly bring your incline down till you're on the ground like this, and then you can go and start to put your feet up, which would add more weight to it, and that kind of thing. So it.
Well, so my push-ups. So I graduated to now when I do push-ups, I have my hands pretty much as close to my waist as possible. And right now I graduated to doing sets of, I go back and forth between sets of 16 and sets of 18. I usually try to do 4 sets of that. So a normal push-up, your hands are right here, right?
Yeah, you're doing it like here where it's on the side.
My push-ups are, my hands are here.
Yeah.
Right. So that's a lot harder.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, grip, the where you place your hands. If you do diamonds, those are a lot harder. If you do the side like that, they're a lot harder. There's a lot of variance on body weight exercises you can do to make it easier or harder.
Because my stuff is like, I could do the planche, but I can only hold it for like 1 second. You know what a planche is?
Yeah, I think you talked about isn't where you
the
like
levitate.
Yeah.
That's hard.
Yeah, so he also does he also in his program will he goes different I don't know, protocols. So the first 2 weeks are ladders, so you're going up, and doing 1, then 2 a set, then 3, then 4 until you reach where you think you're going to be failure on your next set, then you work your way back down the ladder. In the second set, it's more traditional sets, or the second 2 weeks is more traditional sets where you do like 12, and then you do another 12, then you do another 12 over a fixed period of time or whatever. And then he does a thing called, I think it's like supersets. Oh, what was the deal? It's like I can't remember if it's like you mix. I'd have to look at the book, but I think it's a mix of a couple of things. But each one is for building different things, so that the first one is building up endurance, the second one's building up strength, and then it's like speed or whatever is like the third sets. So it's all mapped out. I just follow it because it's easy and I don't have to think about it. But
how long are you going to stick with it?
For as long as I am going to stick with it, I guess.
Well, I mean, do you have a habit of falling off when it comes to exercising, like where you're highly motivated for like the first 4 weeks and then life happens or something?
That's traditionally been what's happened. Yeah. But I stuck with it for a pretty good long time years ago. And I feel like right now I'm in that kind of same motivation level or like thing where the last 2 times I've done it, I think it was when my wife was pregnant. Something clicked and like suddenly I've got motivation to do all sorts of shit. This time it was the fact that I got to the point where I'm just like, I feel like I'm going to die if I don't change something. So like I'm on a kick between the carnivore diet and then this, and I'm training to do running too. So again, which is harder to do.
Ankles roughed up.
They're getting a lot better. I think that carnivore diet actually killed a lot of the inflammation already. It's not perfect, but it seems to be helping. And then the other thing I started to do is wear these Zero shoes I have, which I've worn before, but they're the ones where you're actually on the ground, and there's very, very little. They're like no. There's tread and stuff, but there's no soles. Yeah, it's a barefoot shoe. So you have a layer of rubber between you and the ground, but there's no support, and that changes the way that you walk.
How much do those cost?
I don't know. What are they costing nowadays? Zero shoes. Because they have like sandals and stuff too. Let me see what these ones were worth now.
I need to get some new shoes.
Yeah, if you ever listen to the book or read the book, Born to Run, they talk about. So they're like, it looks like they're $100 plus or minus 50. But they're a specialty shoe, so that kind of makes sense.
I wonder if they have a size 15.
Let me check. Men, let's see, shoes. They're weird though, because you're normally like you're sitting up a little higher because of your soles, and then these ones like you're not.
Yeah, so maybe I'll be 6'5" instead of 6'7".
Yeah, why is this like not working well? Oh, let's go with the Prios. I think I've got a pair of Prios. Yeah, they go up to size 17. It looks like. So, but yeah, the Zero shoes. I've got a couple pair of them. I actually ran a half marathon in them. You're slower, but they seem to. My feet were better with them.
I forgot you actually have those accomplishments.
Yeah, I got them all, man. I got the medal.
Clank, clank.
I finished. I wasn't fast, but I finished. Yeah, marathon twice. Actually, the one thing I need to do is this one in October. I still want to get under 3 hours for that time.
I wonder who could possibly beat me out in that interview. Sorry, I
still on it. You don't want to do that anyways, man. You want to start your own thing.
I'm not going to start my own. I'm not.
You got to have a burning desire. Oh, here, I'll give you
that burning time.
I'll give you my one idea that I had this last week that I'm not passionate about working on, but I think is a good idea.
The pedophile bot?
No, it's on Amazon. It would be an Amazon KDP thing, and it'd be a low content book. It's themed wedding guest books, or celebration of life guest books. If you look at the wedding and guest books that are on Amazon KDP right now, they're all traditional weddings, right? So it's your fancy floral book, right? Or white leather, whatever. There is no like,
what is a wedding book?
It's a guest book. So when guests show up, they sign in
and
leave messages and that kind of stuff, you know? But if you had, let's say, a theme wedding, or you had a couple, especially with Gen Z and Alpha Gen as they get into the weddings, where they might want to have more non-traditional type weddings, or they might want to have thematics, or you got like geek couples, let's say, that have a certain thing and they want to have a book. There isn't any that are just themed to be. There are like one or two that are tangential to this, but there aren't themed ones. So you could come up with a whole line of these things where you just take the exact same pattern of what's the best structure for a wedding theme or a wedding guest book, and you just duplicate it with themes across the cover and just plop them out in a series. And then, you've got hundreds of these across many themes, and then people just can pick and choose based on their weird things. So you spread it out.
Yeah, that's interesting. I know which one I would do. I would do gay marriage, so I would have like the rainbow colors and the LGBT theme.
Yeah, that would probably be a seller. I actually don't, but I was thinking of stuff like, what if you had a loosely like D&D based one, Minecraft, Pokemon, loosely based, like as much as you can. No, but the thing is if you have enough of these that are thematic and you just spread them across a wide array, and you get onesie twosies in aggregate, maybe you could potentially have it. So
You would have to have enough people getting married, which is a separate conversation.
yeah, the other thing is celebration of life, non-traditional celebration of life, as the because everyone's going to die. And so the deal is, what if you have one where this guy was a car enthusiast, and so you want to have an automotive theme, or like a bike enthusiast, you want to have something with his love of motorcycles on the front
You,
page.
you haven't been to obituary.com?
No. Is that a thing?
Yeah, I've left a couple comments, and I get reminders from stuff that I left like 10 years ago.
Yeah, no, I've never been there.
And what's interesting is, as you scroll through the comments left by others, you'll recognize people that you haven't seen or talked to in a long time. You're like, oh shoot. Yeah, so there's one dude, he self-deleted himself, and
No, I'm sorry.
he was a kid. And when I say kid, he was like, I think he was like maybe 18. So I remember leaving a message on there, and it reminds you like I guess like every 10 years, and you and via email, and you click on it and you see everybody else's comments, some of the people you recognize. So
Yeah. Yeah, digital artifacts of people who've passed away are weird.
oh my god, dude, it takes me about 3 to 4 months for me to delete someone off my phone.
Yeah.
Same thing with voicemails. I have the hardest time deleting a voicemail. I have the hardest time deleting text messages from people that are dead.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why I would.
It's like I want to keep something from them. I want to preserve it.
Yeah, there was this TikTok or like reel I saw of this guy. His brother died, but he had played Mario Kart, the game Mario Kart.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can race previous versions of the best score person, and the guy who died had the best score, so the guy kept this other brother or whatever would keep racing his brother's best score, but he would never beat him because as soon as he would do that, his brother's score would go away or whatever. So kind of a weird, not weird, but like interesting way to remember someone or whatever. So. Dude, that's the bummer. We're ending on a down note. All right. I got to go, though. I got to probably get to work here. So.
Yeah. All right. It's been real. Thanks.
Yep. Have a good one. We'll see you next week. All right, bye. Oh, wait. Next week. Hold on. I am not going to be around next week. I could do it on Thursday or
we'll
Wednesday.
aim for it.
Okay. I'll remind you next week that it'll be on Thursday, and if you can't make it, then we'll just skip. So.
All right. Let's be real. Thanks.
Yep, see you.
Bye.